transforming the way students and professionals learn, explore, and engage in the world around them. That is a captivating 3D environment where lessons come to life, offering a completely new and immersive way to experience education. Harness the power of AI for personalized learning pathways. Stay engaged with interactive assessment and quizzes, allowing you to track your progress and achieve your educational goals. Unlock deeper understanding with complex model analysis, breaking down intricate subjects to reveal their inner workings. Master skills through simulation-based training scenarios, preparing you for real-world challenges and future success. Join us as we modernize the educational landscape and create a brighter future for learners everywhere.
All right, so how is this happening? There's a big evolution going on in education delivery. I believe it was also driven to go much faster, as most of us do, by the pandemic, as we had to deal with remote learning, which I found very challenging, teaching the things that I teach in virtual media. But it really came into the public around 2014 with Google Glass. We started to imagine how we can really change information in the way that we see it. And then we now are combining augmented reality, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence. And now we have this new thing, which really is a computer on your head. So the Apple Vision Pro. It's the first headset that's really developed for applications and really to replicate a computer, but then go beyond. And then the hope is that we all just eventually run around with small glasses and we work together instead of being individuals sitting in front of a computer. So it's a really exciting era. Here at Reality, we are working with Apple to make our applications fun and engaging and easy to use for our clients as well. So how is this happening? I want to start with a lot of us in this field are influenced by different things, of course academia, but also by pop culture. So we can imagine doing, education delivery and knowledge and working together and seeing things right in front of you without sitting in front of the computer. And these are some of my references growing up that kind of influenced the way that we think things are possible. So AI is here. It's not going away. And it's really converging with XR and AR, with AR and VR really quickly. So some of the things I want to point out, in 2022 is when it really hit industry, especially here in the United States, with DeepMind and Midjourney, doing beautiful 2D imaging with prompts and 360 images with Skybox, and I'll show you some quick examples. And of course, the OpenAI applications, including ChatGPT, Bard, and many that are coming on board almost daily. At this point, Adobe came on board this year with Firefly. I'll show you a couple images from there, Apple Vision Pro goggles, and so forth. So what's interesting in education delivery is how we kind of frame it to be a safe space for students. And so I put some of the applications there that are really coming into being. One of them, Unicorn Amigo, and that's more for a younger market, but it's a tutor that gives you kind of positive reinforcement instead of just the answer, and teaches you how to help yourself learn concepts in a better way. The little R over there, that's me making an image in Adobe Firefly in a couple of seconds. So these are some of the major applications being used now. So how is it looking for education delivery? So some things that you haven't maybe thought about or seen before. Right now I happen to be at a pediatric medical conference, so I wanted to show you some of the things that pediatric doctors are doing with AI. And here's an image from Children's Hospital of Orange County showing using AI to show parents about hernia operation in a nice way, but also asking questions about, what is this about? What are the different things? So here's the AI bringing up content and then reading back some
Hernias are
information.
one of the most common medical conditions, affecting millions of people worldwide. Despite
So the AI can take a subject and then bring
My
up
name is
content.
Peter Geller, and I'm an associate professor of surgery.
So so that's one of the ways that AI is working for doctors. A lot of different applications. Another one. So one of the areas that I work in, I start out with is cardiology. And in cardiology, there's a lot of training, of course, simulations, but there's also education training. So here's a quick example of AI working for for a mitral valve replacement?
So let's look at a mitral valve procedure shown with AI and XR.
Mitral valve replacement is a surgical procedure to replace a damaged or diseased mitral valve with an artificial valve.
So here we see the initial content being brought up by AI.
The first successful mitral valve replacement surgery was performed in 1960 by Dr. Here's a video related to cardiac surgery mitral valve replacement.
Now you can watch that content and then go on and add additional levels to this experience.
The procedure is performed using a catheter, which is inserted into the heart through a small incision in the chest. The new valve is then placed into the heart and the catheter is removed.
Here we're looking at the procedure with over 30 portals brought up automatically with the AI assistant.
Select to explain about the parts or show the process.
I selected to show the process of the mitral valve replacement.
3. Remove the damaged mitral valve. 4. Replace the valve with a prosthetic valve. 5. Close the incision and monitor the patient's vital signs. 8. Schedule follow-up appointments to monitor the patient's progress. 9. Provide rehabilitation to help the patient regain strength and mobility.
So we go through all of these portals and learn the procedure of the mitral valve replacement. Finally, let's wrap it up with a video going through the specifics of the procedure for the mitral valve replacement.
So at this conference I'm at, I've been talking with a lot of cardiologists, and what they're doing is using this for the kind of pre-education, and then they do a simulation, and then the other thing that they do is they bring real images that they get from, for example, MRI or CAT scans, like a DICOM image, have 3D rendering of it, and they practice doing surgeries before the actual surgery so they can kind of try to foresee complications with that. So real images are now being brought in into this environment like XR, and then doing those practice surgeries before the real ones. That's a very quickly growing use of that type of technology. So for educators, where is this happening? And I bring this up because this is more of a space that students are in more than faculty or professors, and so and my students have been here for much longer than I have in Discord. I found that Discord has a lot of information in there that I didn't know about. For example, Midjourney, I can do 2D prompts and get images there, and content is very important when you're talking about XR. Or I can learn how to prompt. For example, this is in Midjourney. It's a long prompt about how to make this specific backpack, but I can learn, like, how do people do these prompts? What do the short ones look like? The long ones look like? What do I need to do for my own prompt and the images that I want to get? So that's happening in Discord. So these are some that I generated after learning that, and this would be something like for storytelling, but stuff that, and I do teach digital imaging, but stuff that I personally could not draw, but I might be using this for some content within my class. Another thing that I love is that I can also prompt for 360 images. This is very helpful in gaming, but it's also helpful in teaching, because when you put this in an XR application, you have this 360 image, you can add knowledge portals and information around it. So this is one that we teach at my college, automotive technology, and I can bring up, all right, I can go back and say I need 3 cars and certain types of tools, and I can change these images how I want them and get them instantly. There's another one I created, a biology lab, a beautiful looking lab, and I can go around and add equipment in there and then teach students about that in these 360s. And here's just a beautiful image from a fantasy story that I made with Castle. A couple of the others I mentioned, Adobe Firefly, it works a little differently. You prompt it and then you pick the type of image that you want. Like, you want a realistic image, a poster, do you want something that's fantasy? So it's Adobe's probably going to be one of the first ones as well with NVIDIA to do text to 3D or image to 3D. So we're looking forward to that this year. And then Midjourney, some of the images I made of medical equipment just by prompting. So right now, as far as Eon and myself, we're using ChatGPT 3 and 4. GPT-3 does not have a charge to it, and GPT-4 has more parameters. And you can also add things like adding images now. You can add PDFs or other information to train it, and then it gives you better answers back. So some of the things that we're using it for, directly addressing like individualized learning with students. They can ask questions and answers. They can use it as a tutor. It really changes the way that education delivery is framed, because now the students have a way to kind of dive into the questions that they have themselves, which I think is really critical for this current generation and the next generation. So this should be based on instructional design, so being able to personalize your experience, have an influence on content creation and adapt it to your learning style. And very important, it should be very accessible as well for all students with all kinds of disabilities. The avatar should be accessible, and the closed captioning as well. Some of the things to keep in mind when doing XR is we're still teaching, so we need to consider like how to use what we do already to prepare for our courses. And I use AI for me with all of these now. I'll give you a quick example. This is just an example of things that it can save. And in our application, everything that you interact with AI saves with a we can put peer-reviewed research in here. It cites everything that you're doing, so you get all your references, so that information is not lost to the teacher. Like, what are your students can find out. But this is what I wanted to show you. It's you can generate with a prompt like a lesson plan, and this is just one about planning a banquet for a culinary arts class. And I just started prompting it, and I got some lesson content, so I can use that or not use it, or use it as a guide to start. It gave me some activities, it gave me some goals for the attendees of the event. So content that I can type out myself, I can use this as a guide, or I can not use it. As far as being the professor, I'm in charge of my content that I'm delivering, so I'll be the judge of what that helps me with. But it does save a lot of time. It does give beautiful quizzes and information. This, by the way, is ChatGPT 3 that I'm showing right now. They generated, and it also generated the menu, so some stuff there. As far as imaging, this is Blender, which is a free application. So a lot of people ask, well, where do you get your images? I usually get them from Sketchfab, but they originate mostly in Blender or other 3D applications. And the reason I bring this one up is this has AI integration now, so those beautiful textures you see, you can just type in there what you want and it'll add textures. So the AI is already integrated into these applications. This is by NVIDIA. It also, with the prompts, it will generate a 3D image automatically and then texture it as well based on just prompts. So one of the things I realized working with people all over the world is all this prompt engineering. I have the luxury of getting to test this all day, but everybody else is busy teaching and researching. So on our website, we have a thing called eUnlearn, and in there I made a little website for educators. It's free. You can go on there, and I call it Educator Tools. So I put prompts in there. I just want to show you one example. I connected to course content and workforce data. So on course content, I put a prompt that, or put a whole bunch of prompts there's on both of these sections, but I'll just show you a quick example. For example, learning outcomes aligned to visual information. So you have to identify who you are, what you're teaching, and what you want it to output. And so there's a whole bunch of these prompts that I put into here, and then it generates something like this. So this is one prompt result. So you get images now, right from applications like Bard, which is the Google AI, and you can get information that this really helps people. Like, what kind of 3D content would I add to my lesson? So I have my same lesson. I already have my learning outcomes. I know what I'm teaching. What kind of content or 3D models would I do? And maybe in place of a PowerPoint or in place of a 2D image. And so this is very helpful for a lot of folks that we work with, so that you can do this research before you even get started. I just want to show you, I don't have that much time left, but a couple examples. This is one I did the other day when I went flying, bringing the AI kind of with me, so let me show you this.
Welcome to Long Beach, home to the Queen Mary. Please start by setting up a persistent anchor.
I did on my iPhone, and I set up an anchor where I am in Long Beach. 2020. And we see some matches on that bonanza.
The avionics bonanza increases as a single mention. The max speed for the bonanza 836 is 300 knots, and the max range is 1,890 nautical miles. The takeoff speed for the bonanza 36 is 80 knots. The surface ceiling of the avionics bonanza 836.
So you can see here, I'm just sitting in the back of the airplane, but this is kind of the amazing part. When we were flying, it was still working. So
now we go right down the runway for takeoff. Notice the AI system is still operating. While I try to hold it steady as we do our takeoff from Long Beach Airport. Here we are on a beautiful day in Southern California, and then returning to the Long Beach Airport and a beautiful landing again with the AI systems. And now we're back at the maintenance hangar.
So with this video I made was about maintenance and aviation. I'm not going to go through it all because of time, but basically with AI it can understand images, bring up the content, and so the teachers, you can put in your own content, but you can also get assistance, and that's what I'm talking about, being efficient with AI, so you can get all this content. So I got over 30 portals about all the avionics on this bonanza instantly while I was out there on the airplane. So one more thing I want to talk about that I think is really pretty cool is levels. So AI can talk to you at different levels. I did a quick example of about 8 different levels. Let me just show you a few seconds of this one as well.
Welcome to the world of Beyond Personas, where you can pick a persona to deliver your information. The persona will deliver at the level that you desire. These include primary school level,
Microphones that capture the sound of the strings and send it to an amplifier. They help make your guitar sound louder and more awesome. A Stratocaster finger guitar has 3 pickups that help create a signature sound. The pickups are magnets that detect the vibrations of the strings.
So that's one of the things now that you can do is deliver content at the proper level that you want to do. And so you can do university level, you can be a law professor, you can even be a famous person like Albert Einstein. So this is really helpful for content delivery. Otherwise it's pretty generic, which is also fine. So, and this my mic is on. Okay, so, and I think I just got out of time, so let me just wrap it up. Just saying that, merging of AI and XR is what we're working on right now and what I'm concentrating on and teaching. It is affecting the way that the workforce is happening and the way that people are integrating the AI and XR into their daily work life. And that's a little bit about education and training, so with AI and XR. So I want to thank you for my time. And with that, I'll stop showing my screen. Thank you.
So can everyone hear me? And then, can everyone see me?
I'm on the...
Are we good?
Yes, now it's good, yes. You can start. Can you share your screen? Can you share your screen? Do you have any slide deck you'd like to share?
This is going to be me. I'm just going to talk to you guys. I
Okay.
just
Okay, great.
as a one-to-one, that's okay.
Okay, great. So please go ahead.
Everyone, my name is Amanda Bickerstaff. I am the CEO and founder of Faculté here in the United States. I am really excited to be with you all. I'm actually in Colorado right now at a conference with secondary principals across us. I want to talk to you today around something that's very close to my heart and one of the reasons why I started education, which is the idea of what does it mean to have AI? And so one of the reasons why I started getting for education, my background is I'm a former teacher, so I taught high school biology, and specifically I am a researcher. I just work on the impact of COVID on student learning. Sorry. CEO, so I spent the last 4 years working at a, I am not Marocaine, but it's been a fascinating time because, we have always talked about the promise of education. That was, since the dawn of the internet and computers and smartboards, we have said that there's this opportunity to personalize learning for students, to create systems or equitable systems of access. And what we have found is that that has not been the case. And when the origin story for AI for education is that when ChatGPT first hit the market, I, of course, like everybody, or not everyone, we're still in the very early adopter phase, but I looked at ChatGPT and was like, what did I really dislike doing as both a teacher and as a curriculum writer? And what it came down to is I hated writing rubrics. And so I don't know if anybody here is also disliked writing rubrics, but I had ChatGPT write me a rubric and one prompt. And not only did it write me a beautiful rubric, but it also formatted it in a chart. And it was at the moment and that I had 2 immediate thoughts. That one is that this is a truly disruptive technology that has been coming and we've been talking about for time. And that 2, that we were going to have significant difficulty in adopting it as an education system. Because we are, as education is a very complex sexual environment, we talk about there's no one size fits all, but also we have a technically underskilled professional staff. We have very slow to change and risk-averse organizations that support education. So created AI for education to help with that adoption curve. What's really important, I think that the reason why I want to talk to you specifically around responsible adoption of AI is that right now, generative AI is the worst it will ever be. In this moment, every day we have Cloud 2 that launched this week, with that updates to Bard, ChatGPT 3.5 is now Turbo. We have all these wonderful steps forward, but in reality, it is the worst it will ever be. And it's also in a position which it is not fit for purpose for schools, and I can't underline that enough. While I am a proponent, and I'm actually optimistic proponent of the opportunities of generative AI models, right now we have to be very, very cautious about how we support and implement AI. So for example, what we think about as a framework, we call the 3 E's. The 3 E's of responsible adoption are, it needs to be ethical, it needs to be equitable, and it needs to be effective. And so these 3 E's are how to create and support, whether it's schools, districts, nonprofits, and institutions, to help to really frame what it means to adopt AI responsibly, not only in education, but across the world. So I'm going to focus on the first E right now, which is this idea of ethical. And so you may be aware of how models are trained. So we have large language models, like ChatGPT is the most popular, and it's been trained on billions of parameters, so billions of pieces of data from all over the internet, and it is the internet. And so for just today, they're Stable Diffusion. Yesterday, the CEO of Stable Diffusion, which is creates essentially text like image. They trained their model on completely kind of stolen photos. They just scraped the entire internet or used this open source tool, and regardless of copyright, they just took it. You have OpenAI was trained on Enron papers and Reddit. We have all kinds of data that was brought in, both in terms of, and that's data that is biased, can be unethical, racist, misogynistic, all kinds of parts of the internet that we don't love, but also it's been built on other people's work. And so we're in this position right now where we have a couple of big things on. One is algorithmic bias. So in the sense of the way that these systems have been trained, if you ask a question, so there was a recent article that was published that when you ask Stable Diffusion again to show you images of certain types of, people in professions like CEO, judge, person in prison, etc., what they found was that it was extremely biased, heavily biased towards white. In fact, when they asked it for judges in the US, it came up with 3 women in the entire 100 judge photos, and in fact, 34% of women are judges. and so 30%, 40% of judges are women. And so we have these kind of deep algorithmic biases. They're also, as we're talking internationally, I love this beautiful international piece. It is also extremely westernized in the content it's been looked and trained on. And so there are huge gaps in its ability to have like responses that are culturally responsive and appropriate. And so when we think about this, so we have the ethics behind how it's been trained, the plagiarism and the copyright infringement, you have the ethical questions around algorithmic bias. There's a lot of really important levels in which we need to come together and start to create regulations. And right now, the EU has regulations, but many other countries, including the US where I am, are behind. So we need to come together and actually think through what is the appropriate ethical use of these systems, especially as they are thought about and applied in schools. And so one of the we really think schools and systems to be able to control access to data, to ensure that privacy is forefront, including student privacy, but also that we have this really goal towards creating new models that are significantly more ethical. And so, for example, Claude is one that is trained on the principles that are designed to support, ethical, human-focused development. That's a great start, but we are really far behind. Number two is this idea of equitable. And so it is really interesting right now of how some, we have BART is only available in some places. You have the same thing with ChatGPT and other tools. There's still questions about that ability to actually access these systems equitably across in Morocco, across the world. So that's really an important approach we need to think about, that we are ensuring that there is low bandwidth or no bandwidth opportunities for students and teachers and schools to be able to access these large language models to support learning in an equitable fashion. But also we need to think about it needs to be able in the sense of applying to students that have disabilities, students that have neurodivergence from different backgrounds. Like we said before, it's very difficult to have a bot. If you've done lesson planning or you've been working with these chatbots, it's very difficult to have a differentiated instruction based on the types of students that exist. So an English language learner or a student with dyslexia. And so it's important for us to think about models and how we can support not only the access to them, that equitable access, but also things like time forward. And so I think that's really a big question that we want. And one of the pieces that runs through all of these three is this idea of human-centered. So we want this to be something in which we're designing these models for people, not for corporations, not for people making money. And so that leads me to my last point, which is this idea of effective. And so I don't know if anyone is using ChatGPT for their own work, but you probably know that there is something called hallucination. Hallucinations are when these predictive models essentially tell you something is true when it is not. And there have been instances in which lawyers have been disbarred and or have been fined, same thing with doctors, where they have used ChatGPT or other tools to write papers or case briefs, and it has completely made up citations. And so when we talk about effective, it needs to, number one, we need to have a real unified approach to lowering hallucinations, and also being able to have a system identify how, a degree of confidence in which these responses, these models believe that they are true. And so that's something that we really would like to see in any kind of model that is going to be used in context. And then also in terms of effective, there are really amazing opportunities for personalized learning, and I think we're potentially between 8 and 12 years, or 10, 12 months away from having deep machine learning and generative AI tools that can support personalized learning and tutoring. So right now we're really kind of using these ChatGPT tools that are, again, predictive models that are not fit for purpose for schools. So for example, I don't know if everyone is familiar with the organization Marocaine. mind that they are launching the first large language model that is focused purely on the education context, that is creating guardrails around safe, appropriate language. And so if a student asks about how to build a weapon, you can go to Khan and have it do, Khan Academy's tutoring agent, because it's built on ChatGPT. You kind of get around it and have it do how to do that. But you can't throw the mind and create guardrails in which that is deemed inappropriate or unsafe, and students will not be able to ask those questions. Also, the idea of lowering is very students and teachers can rely on that tool to be correct, and not only look correct, but be correct. And then finally, this idea around being able to use the right types of data to train the model. So in Morocco, wherever we have digitized compendiums of courses around curriculum or content, and that the idea of being able to access those as your training data instead of the internet is something that's really going to help with those safe, effective tools. So all that being said is that we have a lot to go. When we really think about the opportunities, I kind of always want to start on lead on the strength-based approach, is that while we do have a long way to go and generative AI is the worst it will ever be today, it is pretty amazing. And I want to give a couple of anecdotes of how I have seen it light up people's eyes and how it's helped educators across the US and also UK and Australia in a couple of ways. One is that it can lower the amount of time the teacher or administrator is spending on tasks outside of the classroom. And we see in the US, between 10 and 12 hours a week off of their instructional time, just doing planning, grading, marking, etc. And so we know that through the conversations that we have, is that when teachers and educators are able to access great prompts and great tools, they're able to collapse the amount of time it takes them to create really both effective but engaging content for students. And also even I just was talking literally today to a principal that is using it to do grant letters to help fund their school, and something that was extremely important to them is something that they're able to do more quickly and effectively. So that's one. In other cases, what we're seeing is that there's this opportunity for students to take advantage of what was considered something that is very expensive, which is one. So, for example, there is a marking tool that is in the UK that's focused on exams and exams for into college, and the person that created it thought it would really be for teachers to help them, but what they actually found was for students. The students were accessing this at 12 o'clock at night when a teacher wasn't available and getting immediate, customized, directed feedback to them, and then they were refining their approach and doing this over and over again. And I think that this is the power of taking and democratizing access to one-on-one personalized tutoring and or support that has not existed outside of an afford one-on-one tutoring. So there's been some really beautiful tools in this, and I know and talk to EdTech founders every day that there are new tools coming and there are real opportunities for us to come together and create a better system and a system in which students really can thrive and teachers can focus on what matters most in the classroom. But there is absolutely a long way to go in terms of ensuring that we do this in a responsible way. And so I hope that we can all come together, whether it's here, all of us are together, or within your own community, thinking about those 3 Ds. Is it equitable? Is it effective? Is it ethical? If it's not, let's send letters to pledges. Let's put positive pressure and even negative pressure on OpenAI and other organizations to access to these tools to ensure to have fit for purpose, safe, and responsible AI. And I just really, hope that everyone has a beautiful rest of your day, and love that we're all here together. Please connect with me, and then always happy to, I'm in the US, but always happy to have an international network that's focused on this important topic. So thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Professor Bickerstaff.
So I do have some, I'm not going to try to show them because because I'm not sure of my advantage here. I'm using my phone, and that makes life, of course, much more interesting.
Just go ahead with this. With this note that even in the United States, you experience connection problems. Oh, you're in Canada. So, yeah. Go ahead, please. Okay. Well, it's almost the same.
So anyhow, I'm just going to go ahead and assume you hear me. And just to note in the chat, there's a lag. But I would press a candidate interface and when something happens, word hear me. Awesome. Okay, working. So the title I've given to our talk is Transforming Learning Design in the AI Era. Well, we've just heard this GPT for us, and what I want to talk about is how we particularly learning to has been setting up courses and we do all that. But as we've seen already in the examples have been provided, artificial intelligence is going to do a lot of that for us. So it raises the question, what is the role going to be? And let's talk about it. We've seen potential of, say, ChatGPT, of course, we're going to like one common way that the ChatGPT and similar AIs has been students answering questions for students. Or perhaps they can help them answer multiple questions, or perhaps they can give them a text-based response for the question. But they're experiment to how well and at this point they're not professional. Linda said in her talk that this is the worst that there is programs, whatever form, but they're only to get better from it. But it is going to get better. Because right now, they're being provided all of the data that need, and it's only performed with a certain level of accuracy. And a big part of the reason for that is data that can be made. Twitter ads, text chats, posts, things like that. It's what we might call informal data. Answering questions isn't the only sort of thing that's behind us or learning generally. There's a variety of tasks, and it's going to require a variety of types of data. We might ask, feedback and good feedback, and they're not saying, no, nobody harasses that's not the sort of feedback that I can also help based. We saw say medical imaging in the environment, but again, but these visualizations. There'll be some interaction, but again, we want these to be positive interactions. They can help design, provide positive first. But once again, I don't want it to be just whatever, where there's not the course actually getting the students learn. So how are we going to do? We're going to consider, and I do code do. We'll see something from about and this is the connection between artificial intelligence and data and being called the examples of that in the first talk was 3D and immersive simulation, but that's only a decade of the lesson. The other is that it's we heard about the possibility of these 3D visualizations earlier on. That's a great thing. We need to see the right person to be sure of the identity of the person that we're sending. What the metaverse provides in what can be called consistent objects, that is, you know that you're working with the same content, you know you're the same right. The technologies to create this part of the technology being used for blockchain. Now, blockchain doesn't not so good. So individual entities, people, things.
Professor Down.
Very well. So,
Professor Down. Excuse me. You have a very, very bad connection. We hardly can hear what you say, and it's interrupted very often because of the connection. Is there a way you can get close to any, let's say, source? We hardly hear you. No, still not.
Is that better?
No, really not.
I don't way of making my volume loud, my volume is as loud as it is.
This is better.
That's better?
Yes?
Okay. Shall I continue?
Yes, please. Few more minutes.
Okay. Okay. So what I wanted to say is that the data that we've been using before. Now, the data that will be used by artificial intelligence will be trustworthy data that we know where it came from and we know that it's accurate. So,
thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon. My name is Al-Akhawayn. I'm an expert in information technology, work in science and technology sector at UCSC here in Rabat. If you don't know UCSC is the Islamic World Organization for Education, Science and Culture. So with these three main sectors, we have another department, three main sectors, we work with our member states. We have 54 member states from all over the world, actually, from South America to the far in Asia. In these three main disciplines, through warning awareness programs, through conferences, through projects, and also in this regard, we are interested with education, which is one of the main sectors of the organization. Even though I'm not working in the education sector, I'm working in the science and technology sector, but we work with our colleagues in the education sector through different initiatives and programs. And I'm glad to be here with you today, since I came from information technology background, and I, before joining UCSC, I was a professor in university, so I know the domain of education. I heard people, saying that artificial intelligent education. Well, the idea is not artificial intelligent education. Is artificial intelligent powered tools or applications for education. So it's applications, tools, like any other tool that we want to benefit in the education. So this is the idea. Why we're doing that? We're doing that for the sake of the education process, helping the educators and helping the students, helping the trainers and the trainee using these types of tools and applications, where they are artificial intelligence driven. So the idea of artificial intelligence actually it's not new. It's since I think 70s they start, with the prologue language. I don't know if Professor Mohammed Saidi studied when we were students, but now, for the last few years, we start to see lots of applications in artificial intelligence. So the concept of artificial intelligence moved from programming to using another concept, which is based, what they call it, neural networks, and the advance in the domain of neural networks with what they call it, the deep learning. And it's, I don't want to go deep in that, which is lots of technical things. So the idea of artificial intelligence is to try to simulate the brain of humans, or simulate how we do our daily activities. So based on learning, how the machine can learn and understand and reasoning, and also communicate with natural languages, understand human languages, and of course start to problem solving the machine itself without the intervention of humans. So in artificial intelligence, actually, mainly we have three main components. Okay? The first one is the machine learning, which is algorithms that enable machines to learn. Now we're talking about deep learning, which is based on neural networks, and that's why actually, thanks to work in the neural networks that came up with the deep learning. And the other one, and the other component, which is the ability for a machine to understand humans by understanding natural language, what they call it natural language processing. One of the most well-known natural language processing application or tool is the ChatGPT. ChatGPT is in the basis a natural language processing tool. And computer vision, where machine or computers can understand videos and images and can interpret them in order to come up with some sort of information from those images or videos. So, and what is the impact in our society? Actually, the impact of artificial intelligence on the society, we can see it in all aspects of our society. Not only in education, like we are talking about today, but in health, and image processing, which is a very big debate. They are using artificial intelligence. They are using, deep learning. We can see it in finance, predicting the future, manipulating data, and proposing solutions, or helping to take a decision. In transportation, in the domain of autopiloting machines, retail, we're helping customers and retailers to understand what the customers need, and also to help customers how to get, where to get what they need. And also for education, which is our focus today. So in terms of education, we can see the benefit of artificial intelligence tools, or artificial intelligence driven tools, in different aspects. The first one is personalized learning. I think our colleagues, they talked about that, and everyone is aware of the importance of the personalizing learning based, on the what the student or what the trainers want, their social situation, their mental situation, okay, their level of knowledge. We can propose contain it based on the situation of the trainee or the student. And there are a few examples based on that. The most important is the Khan Academy, which uses artificial intelligence to recommend tailored content and exercises based on students' performance and progress. Also, we can see it in intelligent tutoring systems, where we propose tutorials. We adapt to students' learning styles and provide targeted feedbacks. So tutorials will be based on what the students need and what the student should have to know. Examples of we can see the currently learning math IA platform, which uses artificial intelligence algorithms to deliver personalized math instructions. track progress and provide real-time feedbacks. The third one is an automated grading process. Later on, one of our colleagues talked about the time that teachers and professors take, in order to correct answer sheets, to correct essays and articles. Why? Because it's a manual, to correct a thesis of 300 pages. It will take you minimum a week. So the idea here is to try to have this process of correcting automated using artificial intelligence-driven applications. So an example of that is Gradescope, which is an artificial intelligence-powered platform that streamlining grading from assignments and exams. And the fourth one is content recommendations, where artificial intelligence algorithms recommend content, videos, essays, articles, based on the level of the students or the trainees. We can see that in different. You can see that in different applications that we see them in the internet. Even when we if you try one of those applications that teaches languages, let's say English, different levels. The application starts to give you, articles and to propose you some content, to improve, in additional to the process, to the teaching process that you follow with the application. So this is an example of this is learning a platform like Coursera and edX that use artificial intelligence to suggest courses and learning materials based on learners' performance and goals. So what benefits we expect from artificial intelligence tools in education? The first one is improving learning outcomes. This is the most important thing. Most important thing that the learning process will be improved, that the students will be more engaged in the education process, and the teachers or the trainers will be supported with tools in this process. The second one, personalized instructions, and we talked about later on. Also, we can see it in the efficient administrative tasks. So instead of the instructor or the teacher, basic part or even the student, yes, part of his time doing administrative things, even correcting answer sheets. If we can have a tool that does these administrative tasks, we can spare some more time for the instructor, to be more engaged in the education process. Accessibility and inclusion. This is very important. Here we're talking about students with some sort of disabilities or needs. In this case, using traditional way of teaching, let's say a student, blind students or students with problem in hearing, we cannot just leave them with other students, and we cannot just use the traditional way of education, expecting that they will profit from that, benefit from that process. Using tools, artificial intelligence tools, we can help them with that. We have tools that convert speech to text, tools converts text to speech, And these are based on what we said later on, the natural language processing. So what are the challenges and ethics, Because now when we start talking about artificial intelligence in education, for example, when ChatGPT came to this world, everybody's, especially in the education domain, start to think, yeah, ChatGPT, this is going to destroy the education process. This is going to increase the cheating in the education process. So there are certain challenges of using artificial intelligence applications in the education process. But what I wanted to say that these challenges, they are not a handicap. If you let's take the example of ChatGPT. If you compare the ChatGPT with other tools that use it in the education process, let's say the calculator. When we start using the calculator in the 70s in the school, teachers and educators that know if we can use it, the students will get it. They will be stupid. They will not be able to add two numbers. But now we know it's becoming essential. We know. We still know how to add two numbers, but when we use a calculator, we will have more time for other things, instead of doing this. So this is the same thing with ChatGPT. We should change. I mean, the teachers and educators, they should co-op. They should change their way of giving knowledge based on this tool. So this application, ChatGPT, it's here, and it will not disappear in a year or two. And it's getting more powerful with the new version of ChatGPT, which is version 4.0. So the challenge, the first one is the data privacy. This morning, one of our colleagues mentioned that. Since we are dealing with data, artificial intelligence manipulating data, and some of these data concerning students, sensitive data, grades, and other things, their level of, even the level of thinking. So the data privacy is becoming an issue. The other thing also mentioned by one of our colleagues is the algorithm bias. But the algorithm bias, well, it's not the machine. It's not the fault of the machine. It's not the fault of the tool. It is human. So the data that we feed it, is it biased or not? Actually, the third one is job displacement. Actually, this issue we find it in all domains, not only in education. People they think that the machine will replace me. No, actually, the machine will help you. It will not replace you. It will open new opportunities. The same thing with robotics. Robotics, when they came to the industry, they opened new types of jobs instead of replacing the old ones. So there's a need, of course, of learning and upscaling. The fourth one is a digital divide. A digital divide, we can see it in terms between students, because we are in a society all over the world. Not everybody is equal. Students, they can have the money to buy whatever they want, to buy laptops, to buy even smartphones or any kind of gadgets. And we have students, the same society, we have students, they cannot offer that. So this is increases the gap between students, also between communities. Let's say in the same country, a city, a rich city, another city, a rich city with the resources, with taxpayers, and another city, a small city with less resources. So this is also increases the gap between the same country, in addition to increasing the gap between different society, between different countries. Now we know there is a gap between countries. There is a huge gap between the north and the south. So in the industry, in the other domains. Now using, I don't want to say using artificial intelligence tools will increase the gap, but using emerging technologies that cost lots of money that cost will increase more the gap between the north and the south. And the last thing is there should be unethical regulations, and this is not actually our job as teachers or as instructors. Actually, this is the work of the governments. This is the work of the organizations. This is the work of societies in general. And actually, there are several of initiatives in this regard. Everybody is aware of the ethical issue of artificial intelligence. So, United Nations, they have different initiatives in that. UNESCO, they have their own initiatives. In our organization, the organization that we're working with, CESC, we have few initiatives in this regard. Started with a chart that we call it a chart of respecting humanity in the era of artificial intelligence. So this opens future possibilities when applying artificial intelligence powered tools. The first one is we can mention artificial intelligence powered adaptive assessments based on the personalized, based on the situations of the trainee or the student. The second is if we can profit from the AR or VR, which is augmented reality, and one of our colleagues presented that. It is augmented reality, which is adding more content to the virtually to the same picture. Virtual reality, which is total immersive virtually in the education process. The other thing is natural language processing. We can here mention the example of ChatGPT and what's added to the educational process. We started by, when the ChatGPT came to this world, we started with the bad things of ChatGPT. ChatGPT will increase the level of cheating. ChatGPT, will provide misleading information, but actually the information that ChatGPT will present you, it's information that you're using every day. ChatGPT, the data that working in is the data that you have in the internet. When you go to Google looking for something, it's the same thing that ChatGPT working in it. And I'm not defending the ChatGPT actually, but this is the reality. And the fourth thing is the social and emotional language learning support by analyzing student behavior and language and emotional indications to provide personalized support and interventions based on the situation of each student. Example, we can mention virtual monitors or any kind of chatbots. Some case studies, and I will end with that. These are very well-known tools. They are here for quite a long time. The last one, I think most of us or most of you know it. That Duolingo, which is used for teaching languages, and there are also many others. Some of them free, but some of them quite expensive. So, in conclusion, artificial intelligence tools, they are tools that should be used to help teachers and educators, and also students in the education process. We are not expecting that they will replace or they will change the whole education process by replacing teachers, instructors, or trainers. They are supposed to help them, the teachers and the students, in the sake of collaboration, or in the sake of having what we are looking for from the education process. What are our targets in terms of gaining knowledge from that process. So this is what I wanted to share with you today, and I would be glad to answer any question or to engage in a discussion, in any discussion in this manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Smeda, for your insightful talk. We are supposed to break for 20 minutes. I'm going to suggest to everybody not to go to break, and just continue with questions, and then move on to the last session, if that's okay with everybody. So we are Friday. Any questions? Yes.
All right, so thank you, Professor, for this fruitful presentation. So I like the fact that you mentioned the digital divide, which is really important to talk about, especially when we are talking about personalized learning, equal educational opportunities, and so on. So there is a digital divide between the South, North, poor people, rich people, and so on. So my question is, can AI or artificial intelligence by some way decrease this digital divide, or it's going to make things worse? Thank you.
Thank you. Another question? Come on, don't be shy.
I have a question that is open to discussion. When we talk about AI, we mentioned autonomy. Students will be doing their own tasks. They'll be like responsible for themselves with the help of the AI, of course. Wouldn't that create a problem in the future? We will create a generation that is used to having a tutor at their service all the time to help them do any kind of task. Wouldn't that create somehow a problem with those individuals who can't just be or have that autonomy 100% and just used to having AI all the time with them? Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
First of all, I would like to thank all the presenters for such remarkable presentations. When I first started learning about ICT in education a few years ago, it was often said that technology will never replace teachers, and that one of the greatest disadvantages of solely using technology is that it dehumanizes the process of learning and teaching. And now we see AI in education, and we talk about adaptive learning and personalized learning with the help of AI, and there is this question that in the future, will this transforming education in the artificial intelligence era, whether it will ever reach the point of completely replacing teachers and have only AI robots completely take over the process of teaching and learning. And we can take, for example, the institution in Morocco, 1337, its name, in Kharibga. It completely runs by computers, and I don't think there are any teachers. I've never gone to it. peer teaching. Well, it's mostly run by computers, and so and there's also one of the interviews of Elon Musk when he warned that the advancement of AI is reaching a certain point in which it's dangerous, and that humans are not ready for this development of AI. And I wonder whether this transformation of education in the artificial intelligence era, whether it will lead to a positive transformation or a negative one. And thank you.
Well, I'm moving to the next question. I would like to suggest not to trust Elon Musk, because he just requested some time to catch up with the others. So now he's launched his own company based on AI.
It's not really a question, but there are just some points that I wanted to address. Okay, we have been raising a lot of questions about AI in education, but I think that the main question that we should be discussing is not replacing teachers or like making students completely reliable on AI, like rely completely on AI, but the question is how to use AI to enhance the educational process. Because for students, what we need to teach them is how to have critical thinking and how not just accept everything that is given to them by AI automatically, but how to use the information that is given by AI to produce their own ideas and their own thinking. I use ChatGPT, which is just really the tip of the iceberg, but we don't take what's given as an absolute truth or like an absolute knowledge. We need to have critical thinking, and we need to use our minds in a way to help like use AI in a responsible way, because when we talk about responsible use of AI, it's not just that it's AI's responsibility or it's our responsibility. It's sort of a shared responsibility to be able to have like a selective, that's what I want to say, a selective way of using AI and integrating it into education. You mentioned the example of the school at 1337. It's really another example, because it's not relying on machine, it's relying on each other to help learning how to use machines to create things and to move further, which is, yeah, a good example for like an educational model. But we can use, for example, peer-to-peer learning in order to enhance the use of AI in education. By, for example, me coming to you and explain how to generate pictures, and you coming to me and explain how we can generate, let's say, a video through a good prompt. Like this is our way, and maybe this should be the question: how to enhance like education, and how to enhance the role of teachers, and how to enhance knowledge for students by the use of AI, instead of just saying, but will we rely completely on it? No. How can we use it in a way that we can't, that it's not fully reliable? Yes, but how can we still use it in education? Thank you.
Thank you, Aya. Let's take 3 more questions, 4 at the most, and then move on to the answers. Okay? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. How does the use of artificial intelligence in Morocco school threaten cultural identity of a Moroccan individual? This is the question.
Say it again, repeat the question, please.
How does the use of artificial intelligence in Morocco school threaten cultural identity of Moroccan individual? Thank you very much for this.
Anybody else? Could you hand the mic?
Thank you, Dr. Kadiri. My name is Kakoma, and I have 2 practical examples. The first example was, and for me, I'm coming with the approach of continuous education. So the first example is an intern in a company who was fired for using depot translation to translate the work that they were supposed to translate. So the person was fired saying, oh, why didn't you just use your mind to do the translation instead of using depot translation? That's the first case. Then the second case is another intern whose work was nullified by the manager because they used ChatGPT for the work, for the assignment. So this is now the question of how can we balance ethics in use of AI, and also how can we maintain professional integrity of education in the workplace while appreciating the use of technology. So for me, this was the main question in relation to these two examples of people who were affected for the use of technology, even though, well, we don't know what their main intentions were, if they could actually do the work practically speaking or not, but we have seen the consequences.
Thank you, Mr. Kakoma. Very quick answer, collateral damage. No, any other question? Okay, why don't I ask our speakers if they would like to volunteer some answers to the questions? Rina, and you go ahead, please, pick any question.
Sure. I think there were some things about in the workplace. So I just wanted to offer that. We have to be more efficient in the workplace. I think I heard the microphone on that. Okay. So we have to be more efficient in the workplace. So it's a challenge for us faculty to incorporate AI so that there's a framework, a safe framework for students, but they still need to know when and how to use it properly and when not to use it, because that's how you can really mess up what you're doing at work. So that's some of the challenges that I do with my own employees as well, make sure they're being efficient, and I show them the things to use. So students can't just ignore it. They need to learn because it is a workforce skill. So I just wanted to talk to that.
Amanda? Dr. Downs? No? Okay, well, I'll tell you. Dr. Smeda, you would like to volunteer some answers?
Thank you very much. Well, let me start with the concern concerning the digital divide, or the gap between the poor and rich. Actually, the digital divide in technology or any other aspect of our life is already here. You know, what you are wearing different what others wearing depends on their money potential. So the digital divide is here with artificial intelligence or without artificial intelligence. Of course, new technologies cost money and makes it difficult for the poor to get that technology, and this will increase the digital divide. How we can conquer the digital divide? By cooperation between North and South, by cooperation even between our countries, you know, even between our and the South. And I will give you the example of ICESCO. In ICESCO we have 54 countries. Some countries, they are rich countries, and other countries, they are, poor countries. The contribution of each country is completely different. It depends on the resources of this country, and everybody accepting that. Most of our activities, we done them in the needed country, the countries with less resources. This is the cooperation. You know, this is the fraternity between societies, between countries, and between even individuals in the same community. This is how can we bridge the gap. This is how can we reduce that gap between not only North and South, but also between individuals in the same society.
Probably I can give some insight to share maybe some personal point of view regarding the use or the legitimacy of using ChatGPT, and also what Dr. Kadiri qualified as collateral damage. I think that in some way, if we can go back a few years ago, as it was mentioned by Dr. Smida, we had something similar with the calculator, because the calculator is not, I think, still allowed at some level in our educational system for students who are not yet, I would say, with the required skill, calculus or numeracy skills, calculators are not allowed in exams. But once they have already the skills required to do the simple calculations, let's imagine somebody just computing the square root of a number like 137 or any other number. It's really tedious work to use, this mathematical approach to, and it will consume a lot of time. Knowing that you have already the skills, so it will just be wasting your time doing the computation yourself. This is also true for ChatGPT, for people who have already the required skills to write correct text in English, French, or any other language. I think here the ChatGPT is just an automation tool. But for people, it could be something like empowering or augmenting tools. So we can talk about empowered teacher or augmented teacher that uses ChatGPT just to improve the efficiency of his work, instead of spending a lot of time doing some tedious tasks that he's assumed to do, just preparing quizzes, exams, or even some text. He can use it. He can use ChatGPT just to get help and to be more efficient and more productive. So there are many companies around the world who introduced not only ChatGPT, there are other similar tools, as it was mentioned before, like Google. They have BART. They have ChatGPT was introduced by or included by Microsoft in the different Office 365 as productivity tools to improve the efficiency and the productivity. So in this perspective, I don't see any concern or real concern for using ChatGPT or any other similar tool or productivity tool. We can talk here about AI-based productivity tools like the chatbots and other applications. So in this perspective, we can accept that professionals from different backgrounds, because I see that the threat does not. This is not only a threat; this is an opportunity for teachers for many other jobs. So there's also some threat for special jobs like translators. This was mentioned this morning because we have AI-based tools that can perform wonderful translations between any two different languages. So simultaneous translation job is really at risk today. But I think people should be also able to adapt and to probably reskill or upskill to move to another job.
Je vais rebondir sur ce qui a été dit en dernier concernant la traduction simultanée, etc. La stupidité de l'intelligence artificielle dans la traduction va résider dans l'incompréhension de la composante interculturelle sur le langage et l'influence même de la géographie sur le langage. Il aura du mal, un traducteur intelligent, à faire la différence entre deux phrases contradictoires, une en français et une en arabe. Quand on a une bonne nouvelle en arabe, on dit hadihi atlajat sadri. En français, quand on a une bonne nouvelle, on dit ça m'a réchauffé le cœur. Parce que dans les pays chauds, c'est le froid qui fait plaisir. Et dans les pays froids, c'est la chaleur qui fait plaisir. Est-ce qu'un traducteur comme Google, etc., sera capable de prendre en considération le facteur géographique dans le langage? Et dans le contexte aussi, fort et pauvre en communication. La culture arabe, il a une relation étroite avec le cheval. C'est pourquoi nous avons une vingtaine jusqu'à 30 appellations du mot cheval. Alors qu'en français, on trouve qu'une seule appellation. Par contre, le mot neige, et du Maroc au Moyen-Orient, la neige se fait rare. On n'a qu'une seule appellation, alors que chez les Esquimaux, ils ont une vingtaine, une trentaine d'appellations. Donc on parle en fait de limites. Depuis ce matin, on a parlé des problèmes. J'ai entendu que des problèmes, il faut faire attention. Comme il a dit Gad Malek, depuis qu'on était gamin, ils nous disent faites attention à vous. Quand on fait attention, mais on ne sait pas en fait pourquoi on va faire attention. Il faut considérer l'intelligence artificielle pas comme une menace. C'est une opportunité. Et si on veut voir qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire avec, si on ne trouve pas une solution, posez la question autrement. Qu'est-ce qu'on ne peut pas faire avec pour trouver vraiment ce qu'on peut faire avec. Donc les discussions depuis ce matin, comme j'ai dit, en fait, on était limité un petit peu à une petite gouttelette de l'intelligence artificielle, alors que moi-même ce matin, j'ai donné 4 ou 5 exemples de différents secteurs, dans le domaine du sport, la musique, le cinéma, la science, la médecine, etc. Qu'est-ce qu'elle peut apporter? Maintenant, elle est là dans différents domaines, et ça ne commence pas d'aujourd'hui. Comme il a dit, cher le professeur Saïdi, depuis la calculatrice, c'est un système intelligent, hein. Sauf qu'il est réduit, il ne peut pas y aller chercher l'information ailleurs. Parce qu'il n'a pas le big data, sa data est limitée à sa puce. Et maintenant, avec les puces intelligentes et l'ordinateur quantique, qui peut remplacer des millions d'ordinateurs et exécuter en tâchant quelques secondes, qu'on peut, en fait, si on rassemble tous les ordinateurs réunis, ne peuvent pas le faire même si on leur donne, par exemple, c'est pas une dizaine d'années, c'est combien d'années? 47 ans. Voilà. Donc, merci, c'est qu'il y a des d'années-lumière. Donc, il faut sortir de l'ombre pour aller à la lumière. Non, c'est-à-dire il y a de la lumière. Mon seul conseil pour les étudiants, les enseignants, d'aller se renseigner d'abord, à commencer par les neurosciences, et aller étudier le cerveau. Faites un petit peu de l'anatomie du cerveau, pour comprendre l'anatomie artificielle. Parce que le cerveau, nous avons des centres. Le cerveau, nous avons des... Et au jour d'aujourd'hui, cette intelligence artificielle ne peut pas faire le travail colossal que peut faire, en fait, un cerveau d'être humain. Mais sa force réside dans le temps de latence de traitement de l'information. Comme j'ai dit ce matin, il n'est pas capable de vous dire, il doit avoir un temps de réflexion pour trouver la réponse. Alors, en cliquant l'intelligence artificielle, il vous donne, parce que le temps de latence, il est en millisecondes. C'est comme un enfant qui va traverser la route. Il va y aller chercher son ballon, il va prendre le ballon, il va retourner sur son chemin. Il ne va pas y aller au-delà. Parce que pour un enfant, il lui faut 4 secondes pour traiter l'information. Alors qu'un adulte, il lui faut quelques fractions. C'est pourquoi d'abord, des fois, on hésite à traverser la route et on se dit, si on traverse, on risque en fait d'avoir un accident ou se faire cogner par une voiture. Donc, ouvrez-vous un petit peu l'esprit. Ne cherchez pas les problèmes dans les solutions. Cherchez les solutions aux problèmes. Et je m'arrête là.
Merci, professeur Hafidi. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you. Just talking about the digital divide in the education. I am from a generation pre-internet, and when we used to go to school, it was the private school, rich or poor. We were all in the same school. We had a uniform. Nobody knew what we were having behind that uniform. What was important is the education. So a few years later came the private sector. I'm talking about Morocco. Families from middle class and rich class started sending their children to this private school. Those who are poor were left in the government schools. So all this divide actually started before the internet. And with the pandemic, for instance, in Kenya, they tried to find a solution to education. So the teachers started giving classes through the TV. However, a lot of people living in slums and in poor areas didn't have a TV. They had to find a solution. So they started with the radio. Some people even didn't have a radio. So the children had to repeat the year. So I think the divide started long before the internet. And if there is a right, it is a right to education for poor and for rich. And this is something we have to think about, because now you can be a genius, but if you are from a poor family, humanity will lose your, what you can give to humanity and to human beings. If I may, do we have time?
You have still a couple of minutes.
Well, I can make my remark after the speakers. So this is just a comment about someone who was talking about the digital divide. Thank you.
We have Professor Chaîne with us, if she wants to add something. Professor Chaîne?
Hi, yeah, this is Chaîne. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I mean, if you want to answer any of the questions, but then we'll move to this next session and you would have your talk.
Sure. I think my talk covered by a lot of speakers, so I can offer some, I'm sorry I stepped out for a meeting, but I agree with a lot of comments already made. I think the AI is not a hype. Right? Not some people think they will come and go, now it's on the peak of the hype. I think it's not. It will be like people mentioned, like internet or personal computer. It will really change the everyday task. Like a professor or administrator, we all think, their higher education will be reshaped by AI. I was joking on one day, I think you probably have your colleagues or your administrators, they have at a different stage of emotion, right? We think the 5 stages of the grievance. Some people still in denial, some angry, bargaining, depression, or acceptance. So I think as a faculty member and university leaders, we need to be very intentional to really understand, to communicate with our colleagues, how we can really better serve our students in the AI-powered, future work. So I will offer some suggestions or avoid some mistakes as a leader, university leader, administrator. So first, I think people talk about, the ethics, the privacies, how to do assessment. I think people think we can distinguish between AI-generated or human-generated work, which is not true, right? In the face of advancing AI, so it's impossible to do that task. So we must rethink what assessment we need to really evaluate the high-order skills, not just reproducing the knowledge. And we think about to prepare our students for the AI-influenced future workforce. So what we need to teach them. I agree with some comments already made and say, we need to implement a strategy with AI across the curriculum approach. So integrating AI application into various disciplines. So I know Florida, one institute in the US is really have an AI for all, or just make AI as part of generic requirement. So no matter what they are starting, every student needs to know the basics of AI and how to work with data. So I think we can arm for the AI influence, right? It's just we mentioned data influence or information influence. So they should be very comfortable to deal with AI-based systems. And we can do this by bringing AI into different courses here and have some hands-on learning. And we also need to understand the potential risk of AI, talk about the ethical issue So we have to invest in training and wellness campaigns to really mitigate this risk and ensure responsible AI usage. And I think as a university, we need to develop a longitude research agenda. We need to start now to really examine the social, ethic, pedagogical challenges associated with AI. And we cannot just do in academia. We need to collaborate with industry and the public sectors to create transparent and practical AI programs and equip our students with lifelong learning skills for the AI-driven society. So in general, I think I agree with the audience here. So I think AI is not just a challenge; it's an opportunity. It's reshaping everything from personalized learning to our university's operational efficiencies, not just in the curriculum. It's all the way to from the curriculum to the academic support, to the recruitment, to the financial aid, all of that. So as leaders and faculty members, we're responsible to reacting and really intentionally plan for this change. So that's my quick comments. I don't want to stand between you and the coffee break, but I'm so glad to join the group today here. And give back to you.
Thank you, Professor Chen. I will be very quick answering question over there about AI replacing teachers. Honestly, nobody knows. Finland is going back to regular classes, while Harvard is starting, let's say, a robot teaching in their classes starting September. So there is a huge dynamic that's going on. And I would join Dr. Alawi Al-Hafidi when he says, open up, just see what's coming, get on it. Learn as much as you can, because you're the future, not us. I mean, not me anyway. This is one. Second, to digital divide. Years back, we needed to transport so many things, one way or the other. That was heavy, costly, etc. Today, all we need is a mic and a computer to work on so many things, and you don't even have to leave your home. You don't even have to leave wherever you are. You can learn any way you are. And finally, I have a question for Professor Rina about artificial intelligence, augmented reality. Do we still need, and how long would that last? If you could volunteer any. Those are huge, let's say, what do we call them? Headsets. I wish that in few months we won't need them. We would have just a lens, very, very light, very simple, very easy to use, and even with our own eyes, we would be able to go from reality to virtual reality, from reality to augmented reality. Could you speak to that, please? Oh, she's gone. I mean, technology is moving so fast. We have at least 15 universities in 15 states in the United States already using metaverse for introducing metaverse, meta university. They don't go to school anymore, they go to the metaverse. Do we need to do that in Morocco, on the African continent? Why not? But we have to do it responsibly, wisely. You've seen that we experienced some technical problems. They do in Canada as well. So we will have to solve all those problems, but while solving those problems, we have to advance. We were discussing with Professor Alawi, and to a question, can we do that? My answer is, can we afford not doing it? Do we have any other choice today? And the answer is no, we don't. So we may as well learn how the best way to do it for our sake and for everything we do. I think this, unless there is a comment, is something, Si Mohammed?
Yes, I just want to to end with this, if you don't mind, Professor, that we are living in the knowledge society right now. And the economy is going to be a knowledge-based society. So we have to use all the ways, all the tools that we could have in order to look for that knowledge. In the internet, even if we want to go back to the old Encyclopedia Britannica and grab those boxes and looking for the knowledge, but we must be engaged, otherwise we will be left behind.
I don't see any of the members of the next panel, so why don't we just keep on going? Yeah. We can still keep on discussing, and Aya, as soon as you see somebody, we can start the next panel. Please feel free to ask questions. I'll go.
Okay, thank you very much for this presentation by different teachers, which is very important and is a source of contributions in human development in general. By the way, no one can ignore that artificial intelligence is of utmost importance at this time. And we have noticed that it is increasing so fast and so great, which means this type of increasing led to the increase, by the way, of the robot. So, when we have the increase of robots, it means automatically those robots might replace human jobs at any time and in a very quick way. So the question can be raised, is that sort of increase of robots may lead to sort of unemployment within a human being? This is the first. Second, who is going to benefit? Because when we have the use of robots, mostly the rich people are going to benefit and not the poor, because these are used basically by those rich classes. So the poor classes are going to be a sort of a victim, and they are going to be unemployed. So what is their consequences, or what is the situation, what will be their situation in this life or in this world? And second thing, it can lead to social crisis and financial crisis, which is another dangerous situation that we are facing in this world. And thank you very much.
Anybody would like to answer? I'll take this last one, please. How do you know? How could you say it's going to lead to a social crisis? What's the data you have on which you base your assertion? You don't have any data. We don't know. Nobody knows. I'm not saying it will not, but I'm saying let's not jump the guns. Let's not run to say, okay, this is what's going to happen. Nobody knew that we were going to have the pandemic. We did. Nobody knew that we were going to have the situation we are having today. We do. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. These are conjectures. Okay? Is it going to replace the teacher? I don't know. If it does replace the teacher, it means that the teacher lost his job and did not adjust, did not adapt. I don't think it will, honestly. I think we will have a different teacher with a different way of being with quote-unquote students. Not the way my teacher was with me. Not the way your teacher is with you. But a different, totally different, adjusted teacher. Teaching won't be the same. It's true. This I can say. It's true. But whether it's going to replace or not, I honestly can't say. And if somebody can say it will, I don't know.
I will not say it will, but anyway, probably I can give other examples. Yes. I will start with the very interesting initiative, very important initiative launched by the UN Telecommunication International Union, ITU, since a long time, which is AI for Good. I don't know if there's anybody here in this room who follows the webinar series, at least for of this group, that target all kinds of applications of AI, just to show the wonderful impact AI is having on different sectors, including education, healthcare, agriculture. So the idea is mainly problem solving, automation, boosting productivity, boosting also yield and outcome. This is one example. Another example is also the amazing impact EA has in areas like medicine, for example. You take, for specific example, the pancreatic cancer, which is the worst cancer that exists up to now, and this is a real challenge for oncologists worldwide. So there is recent research work developed by Cancer Research Institute in Houston. That for this time, the first time they developed the medicine that allowed to, at least to give a lot of hope, and it's very promising. Like, I can share later on if you're interested, even some paper journal publishing this research work. Just to say in a few words that AI is just about optimization, about improving solutions, improving outcomes, providing in some way solution that will probably compete with any man-made solutions, because as it was explained, the power of AI exceeds the human power. So it's based on big data analytics. It's based also on all the processing power we have in computing machines today. And now with the advent of quantum computing, you can imagine the impact that will have on AI algorithms and AI systems based on those emerging technologies.
I just want to go back to the remark of our colleague concerning that we are afraid that machines will replace human, or in this case, artificial intelligence tools will replace teachers. If you take the example of I think you like football, everyone likes football. If you take the example of the VAR, does the VAR replace it, the arbiters? No, we still have it, but it helps. So the same thing with artificial intelligence tools, it will help the teachers or the instructors in improving the process of education. In that case, the VAR helped in improving the process of playing that game that we call football. This is the first thing. The other point that I want to share with you, everybody is concerned again now and worried about the ethics of artificial intelligence. Politics, even though I don't believe them, they said they are worried about the ethics of artificial intelligence. Computer science specialists, they are worried and they work in the communities. People, they are worried about the ethics of artificial intelligence. Organizations, they work in that. They try to, to come up with regulations, even though it's difficult. And in terms of technology, the computer science specialists, they start talking about what they call it explainable artificial intelligence, which is the machine will give you an output, will give you an answer, but also it will give you why they choose that answer. In that case, you will be able to understand, is this what you are looking for or not? It will explain to you why you choose this one and that one. And it will give you the choice either to take it or to leave it. Thank you.
I'm going to give you an example a personal example. In 1980, I was running a research for my work on PhD in business administration in Pittsburgh. And we had a huge library, Hillman Library. And I would spend days and nights looking for references, browsing into those cards, taking them out, looking for books, etc. Honest to God, days and nights to find 100, 150 references. That's something that I can get in a couple of seconds today. 2 seconds. Not only from Hillman Library, from the Library of Congress, from any library around the world, in a couple of seconds. And that time that I used to spend, or I spent, trying to find my references, I would spend either in resting, sports, reading, or doing so many other things. This is the transformative power of AI, to which we need to adjust. I'm not saying it's a replacing power, no, it's a transformative power. Look at cars today. I drove a Simca 1100, back in 1973, 74. Okay? Now look at the cars today, on which you have computers, you have anything. Soon enough, you won't need drivers, you won't need to drive. It's already happening in Japan, in China, in some of the other countries. You will think of a car and the car will be there, because you'll be connected to your car. This is where we're moving. This is where the world is going. So either we adjust and we move even faster, or we don't and we stay where we are. We've chosen to adjust. When I started working at the Tamkeen Foundation, there's so many things I didn't know about. My colleague, she's here, Aya Zadou, introduced me to The Good Doctor. It's a series. I really would want you to go and watch it. You will understand what the augmented reality is bringing to us, developed by just human being. This is an autistic person who became a surgeon, but nobody wanted to integrate him in their team. Somebody waged on him. Look, I mean, watch the series. Read about these things. If we want to adjust, if we want to move as fast as, instead of saying, okay, well, the digital divide and all that stuff, well, it's there. But let's adjust, let's go as fast as we can. Keeping in mind our culture, okay, our values, and so many other things. Professor Hafidi has the final word.
Quickly. En fait, depuis ce matin, et comme l'a dit Dr Kadili, etc., pourquoi avoir peur? Est-ce que vous avez peur de votre cerveau? Si vous avez peur de votre cerveau, il faut avoir peur d'autres cerveaux. Donc maintenant, la chance que vous avez, c'est que vous aurez deux cerveaux. Un qui est naturel et un autre artificiel. Mais l'intelligence artificielle ne fait pas le poids devant la stupidité naturelle. Il faut en faire un bon usage. C'est quelque chose de positif. On a l'impression depuis tout à l'heure, quand on parle de danger d'intelligence artificielle, on a l'impression que la bombe atomique, ça fait plaisir. C'est bon pour la santé. Il y a dans le monde des choses qui émanent des désastres. Et on ne fait pas attention parce qu'on ne l'a pas devant nous. En 2017, le président russe Poutine, il a dit, demain, celui qui veut monopoliser ou bien avoir la force sur le monde entier, c'est celui qui va maîtriser l'IA, l'intelligence artificielle. À tel point, si vous avez remarqué, même la nature de la guerre commence à changer. La guerre maintenant, on n'a pas besoin de soldats, mais on a besoin de manettes de PlayStation pour guider en fait des missiles et des drones, etc. Donc, il ne faut pas avoir peur de quelque chose déjà qu'on ne maîtrise pas. On n'a pas même d'informations sur cette chose. Culturellement, on va faire le côté négatif. Quand vous parlez à votre famille, vous leur dites, j'ai un projet, la première action, et si ça ne marche pas? Et pour réussir un projet, la première condition, fais-le. Fais-le. Donc là, c'est comme il a dit tout à l'heure, c'est soit on va conjuguer avec, soit il faut mourir. Il n'y a pas d'autre solution. No one can stop the time, comme il a dit Bob Marley. Personne. Le temps est là, ça fait qu'un. Donc non. Il ne faut pas toujours jeter en fait la faute sur l'autre. Est-ce qu'on n'est pas préparé? Est-ce qu'on est ceci? Est-ce qu'on est... L'intelligence artificielle, depuis 1950, voire même 40, on parle de ça. On avait quand même le temps d'être très préparé, hein? Un quart de siècle, un demi-siècle. Donc non, allez allez vous renseigner. Lisez des articles, lisez sur ce que vous donne justement ChatGPT, lisez des magazines, regardez sur YouTube, regardez sur des chaînes ce que c'est en fait l'intelligence artificielle. Pour ne pas la réduire en un petit support en fait de rien du tout. Merci.